Okay, another unexpected, unscheduled break from all things Larry and especially Louis. If you're in the United States, you probably have seen just how the news cycle has been just one after the other clusterfuck. So, as much as I wanted to talk about what was going on in the whole Louis and Zara and Coachella that went on last weekend, I just didn't have time. I'm so tired. Tired because all my tasks have built up. But I wanted to say that this is going to be a bit of a summary of the thoughts I've collected in response to just the ongoing news of Louis and Zara, pictures that have emerged through these pap photos, which I call stage. This clearly, I think they're friends, and someone in Facebook had said in a Larry Stylinson group that Zara is friends with Louis' sisters. So this all makes kind of sense that they're all kind of helping each other out on the publicity thing. But nonetheless, I'm just going to say it. I just don't like it. I don't like how people are turning on Louis. I don't like how he's suddenly lost followers and people are feeling very devastated, which I totally get because I think that fans are sick of being gaslit and being lied to. But I didn't get a chance to post about it in the last week because, as we all know, look what's happening in American news media. I'm not even going to begin to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm actually scared to talk about it because there's too many people talking about it. And more and more, honestly, guys, I want to talk about Larry. Okay, so this is just me gonna free associate in this video. If you know anything about psychoanalysis, free association is that classic lying on the couch and just talking while the analyst takes notes and doesn't say anything for the most part. So let's let the unconsciousness come out. Okay, so I am not the generation, as we all know, that was targeted for One Direction. I was more like who would be targeted for Boyzone, the Irish boy band that Louis Walsh, contemporary colleague of Simon Cowell, was the manager of. Now, Louis Walsh looks like a real rat bastard in the Boyzone documentary. And when I was watching the Boyzone documentary, I couldn't help but see how Ronan Keating, who just turned I think 47. Yeah, 47, 48 this year. Like, he like looks older. Like he doesn't look 17 anymore because we first met him when he was 17. Ironically, I think Boyzone was formed the year Harry Styles was born, which is really freaky to me. But Ronan Keating, for the most part, looks like him, and he's still you can see the boyishness with the smile lines and stuff. And I said the other day on Facebook, why is it that Ronan Keating looks pretty much the same age as Harry Styles now when he is like almost 20 years older? Like that really freaks me out. And it goes back to an earlier video that I made where I talked about the effects of closeting and how one of the effects of closeting is accelerated cellular aging because of the cognitive load and the emotional load. And there's the pushing of stress hormones in the body to mask who you are. And I just have to say this. I saw this this thing that says love letters written during World War II between two men. Okay, okay. You know what? I said that's Larry. You know what? Because as much as we progress, there's still people not ready to believe that Louis and Harry were together. And Louis and Harry, like, have you noticed that like Harry Styles just does not smile the way he used to? Or he just hasn't smiled the way he did. The last time we ever saw Harry smile to his ears was before the band split. And Louis still smiles though, but Harry, it's like Harry went from this beaming angel cherub child to this very sullen, sulky, ruminative, depressed looking, broody guy. It's like it's a 180 or 360 or no, 180. I think it's 180. It's 180 when you go to the opposite end. It says it's like a 180 from how we knew him. And it's more and more I look at the Harry of One Direction and up until maybe 2017, 2018, like about 2, 3 years before the pandemic, he just looked so young. And now really, he looks older than Ronan Keating. I mean, it's just, okay. And it brings me to this point. is that they were done wrong because I Harry has never smiled the way that he did because he's not with Louis, and Louis still smiles because I think Louis is the more resilient one. They say in non-heteronormative relationships, there is not so much a gender role, but there's like the yin and the yang. Like the yin is associated with the feminine, which is yielding and emotional, and then the yang is the one that's in charge, right? So, like even in non-heteronormative relationships, there's a yin and the yang, and so like Louis is definitely the yang, and so the yang tends to be able to compartmentalize. But when you see these paparazzi shots of Louis and Zara that have been making their waves to the internet. I have never seen a picture of Louis with anybody else looking so carefree, effervescent, and just totally himself and smiling the way he did with Harry. Now, Louis older, but Louis has not aged as much as Harry, and I think that there's a reason why. It's because he's able to compartmentalize, and Harry being more yin-like. And I didn't know. Somebody asked me if I thought Harry was neurodivergent. I don't know. I mean, if he was mimicking Louis, that could be just because they're in sync and they're able to mirror and twin. But I don't know. It could be that maybe he was masking because when people socially mask, if they're neurodivergent, they do so by watching other people and mimicking their moves. But he didn't mimic the other boys; he only mimicked Louis. But I see Louis as kind of been the anchor to Harry as opposed to vice versa. But I'm so mad now. I want as much as I kinda have my I don't like Harry Styles for, like, ditching his, like, bandmates, at the same time, like, I just think it's wrong. It's wrong for, like, these 2 not to be together. I mean, I kinda like the Harry of old, but I do think that the Harry of old will come back if you just let him be with Louis. And I'm not saying that they have to come out to us. That's not like they don't owe us anything. I'm just mad because the whole reason why if they're like not coming out and they've had to kind of be sort of like discreet and hidden is because it wasn't okay by people that were um, it just wasn't okay. It was just not okay by the powers that be. It was not okay by people that just didn't understand. It was just not okay. And it's just not okay. To have put them in a closeting situation, it was not okay to subject them to these beards. And like, I'm sorry, nobody can keep up this lie of being straight and in love with this girl, whether it's Kendall Jenner, Taylor Swift, or like Zara McDermott. Nobody can keep that up for too long because you know what? If you have to work against yourself, it really is hard. Now, method acting is it'll win you an Oscar, like the case of Daniel Day Lewis and um, Robert De Niro. But guess what? Eventually that role ends. In the case of closeting, it's like a never-ending role, and a role you didn't necessarily sign up for. But I think that this World War II letter about Louis and about the two soldiers, it just captures what I feel has been done to Larry. And I wish that people could just stick with Louis and know that, he still needs to make money and he still needs to kind of like you don't know if he's still compelled by contract because we all know the music industry contracts are really ridiculously controlling. But I wish it didn't have to be this way. But Louis can only do so much. I'm mad at people like unfollowing him, which doesn't help with his like algorithm. I, it's not his fault. He's as much of a victim of the system as everyone who's ever been closeted. But I can see why people are mad. They're mad because they want Louis happy. They don't like being kind of like hoodwinked and oh, you were wrong all along. And people kind of are very invested in supporting this relationship because it is serving as an archetype. But honestly, it's just I've kind of changed my mind on the Louis Zara thing. I mean, I think they are probably friends. I don't think they're dating. I think it's definitely a PR thing that's going to probably end around Soccer 8, or maybe it'll continue as a publicity stunt for whatever reason that serves. But it just the contrast of, you know, even with Eleanor, Louis was kind of a little bit distant, at least in my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know these people, but he was never as fun and effervescent himself. I know I'm repeating myself. Like, he just wasn't in the moment as much and just free to be himself, and the same with Harry, and Harry just increasingly looks depressed to me. I don't think he's a narcissist, people have asked me that. I think he was narcissistically wounded because he couldn't be with his person, and I just don't think he's as happy, like, it's like a part of himself is missing all the time, and that's probably why he looks like the light's gone out of his eyes. Um, I think the old Harry would be back if if the world could just, and the system and the music industry could just let him be with Louis. Like, fuck, just let these two be together for God's sake. Life is short.